Hey guys, it's Esper. What's up? I have been trying to do this video for quite a long time, and I was asked to do this video even a longer time ago, so sorry about that. The first few times I tried to do the video, the talking points I had didn't quite pop, and I also had some issues with recording the video and some other things. But the script for this video has been written for quite some time, so I think I'm just going to mention our talking points straight off the bat, and we're going to divide this video tutorial into two parts, and that is your general settings and what you can do just on your OBS, just on your computer to better your sound, and what you can do outside of it, hardware, software, everything else that you can do to make your audio pop and be good, okay? So let's get started. There are quite a few things you can do to improve your audio, and I'm going to show you the main three things that I think is the bare minimum that you need to do. So one is having the right settings and specifically avoiding boost, balance, and three is picking the right mic. So let me take you through the basic parts of it, okay? If I start streaming, I want to make sure that my levels are okay, my mic isn't too loud, and my desktop audio isn't going to overwhelm my voice on stream. Because my input, my casting, is what I bring to my Twitch stream, although a lot of my community will probably disagree. They enjoy my terrible gameplay. Anyway, we're gonna move right onto my desktop here. And as you can see, I have OBS, I have the volume mixer, and this is the default volume Windows mixer. Yeah, super high-tech Esper. And the sound controls. We're not really going to use playback in this video, but we're going to go straight to recording, okay? So what you see here is the mixer for OBS. You would normally have two things, your desktop audio and your mic. You want to make sure that when this green bar goes up, it is higher than the base desktop audio. So if you're playing a game, any game, there is the base level of how loud it's going to be, footsteps, ambient noises, music if you choose to have it. And you don't want your audio going down here. So like if your audio was down here and your desktop audio was up here, you're not going to be able to hear anything you say over the desktop audio that might be this loud. So I'm gonna put on some music. I have my streaming playlist right here, and let's see if I let's just pick one, and I'm gonna max out the volume. Okay, you might be able to hear it through my headphones, but you're not gonna hear it through this recording. And I turn on this, and I try to speak, but it's limited to this. Obviously, the people are going to be able to hear the music, but they're not going to be able to hear me over it. I'm going to turn that off because it's actually really loud. So that's the first thing, is you want to make sure that you have good balance in your OBS settings. And the next thing is making sure you have the right settings. You have an audio tab here, and you have to make sure that your right device is picked, okay? Make sure that you have, I don't really mess with the sample rate too much. I have it 48 kilohertz by default. Stereo, this is default. And you just make sure that you're using the proper mic. You'll see here that this is a virtual audio cable, and I'll get into that in the next video. But make sure that you have the proper mic here, because if you have a webcam plugged in, if you have like a headset, and then if you have a standalone mic, you're going to have quite a few options there, and make sure you identify the correct one that you want to use. Okay. So that's pretty much it for OBS. Some people use push to talk. I personally just use normal continuous streaming. Now we're going to move over here, and you're going to see all of these. So your desktop audio is directly linked to your desktop audio. Wow, a surprise. I'm a sarcastic person. I'm sorry. Anyway, you have all of these things going on, and you can use this to your advantage. You know, you could lower and increase certain things in here. If you don't want Discord to be too loud, you can bring it down so that it's still audible on stream and your comms are audible on stream, but it's not overpowering the game audio and your own voice. And that's a problem with a lot of streamers. Sometimes they'll be playing with their friends, and their friends' volumes will be the same level as them, which you would think that makes sense, you know, like you want to hear your friends. And normally, excuse me, normally if you were just playing games, that's what you would want. But in this case, you are casting. So keep it so that you can hear them, and keep yourself louder than them so that the stream can still focus on your commentary. One of the biggest things that I want to go into is your microphone settings. So I'm just going to double click that. And you have here my microphone. This is the microphone that I plug in, and the microphone that you see right here. So with this microphone, I have to make sure that my levels are correct. So I'm going to take you back to my desktop, and this is something incredibly simple. You're going through your levels on your microphone, and you make sure that this doesn't cause your microphone to peak, to crackle, or anything else that might produce a sound that people don't want to hear. So once you find your sweet spot, and that's going to have to be either streaming and watching the VOD back and seeing, okay, this is where my mic was too loud, this was where my mic was too low. Or you can use the record function in OBS, which is what I do a lot. So that is the balance and settings in terms of OBS and all of the onboard tools that you have just by having Windows. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is picking the right mic. Okay, so this is one of those things that kind of gets a little bit convoluted, and it really should go on the hardware, but mics are so necessary to streaming on Twitch that I want to cover at least a little bit of it in this video. So we're just gonna quickly open up an Amazon window. Okay. And I'm going to open up the 3 most used mics that I know of on Twitch. And then I'm also going to show you some of my picks that you should definitely consider if you're going for a standalone mic. We're gonna go into some audio stuff. But first, I want to show you a really old clip of mine, because I want to first tell you that you don't need a standalone microphone. You don't. I didn't start off with one, and if you're just starting out, I heavily discourage you from getting a standalone microphone unless your mic requires boost to be heard. Because I've had that problem with a headset mic, that it was so bad that you can't actually hear me unless I boost. And the thing with boost is that your mic, yes, gets louder, but everything else horrible that you don't want to hear in the background also gets horrible. So that's the one thing I would say that definitely requires you to get a new mic. And that's how I ended up with my Rode. Because my mic on my headset that I had to replace was so bad. But my first headset was a headset that I used for DayZ back 2.5 years ago. Okay? And it was $20. It was a Logitech headset, and it worked great for gaming, and it worked great for comms, because you could hear me and the audio was good. And it is a lot less configuration in terms of everything else. I run my mic right now through a digital audio workstation, and I have to make sure my levels are good, and it sounds better. But this was a plug-and-play USB mic attached to a headset, and it was $20, and the audio for that price was fucking stellar. I said to myself I wasn't gonna curse in this video, and I failed. In true Esper fashion. Anyway.
When did you play, Captain? Yeah, I think that Hunter fucked off, because I think you injured the hell out of him. He's probably healing somewhere. There are footsteps near me.
Oh.
There is somebody gonna camp the same fucking spot as I was.
You get him?
Yeah, he's dead.
Okay, so I've shown you that clip, and that was from 2 years ago. I was using a cheap $20 USB headset mic, and the audio wasn't bad. And compared to how much I've spent on my setup right now, yes, the improvement is miles apart. But price is also miles apart. My mic is $170. The shock mount, I don't even remember how much the shock mount is. Let me look it up. The shock mount is $60. Yeah, the shock mount is $60, and the boom arm is $100. So this is a $300 plus setup. And you're saying, well, Esper, you know, the rest of your setup doesn't count, and I'll actually tell you later why it does. Anyway, I'm re-recording this part of the video because I went into editing and saw that it was far too long. So let's speed through this. I'm going to show you the 3 most popular mics, and then I will show you the 2 mics that I recommend. Let's get started. Yeti, Blue Yeti. Everybody seems to first look at this as their first mic, and I don't know why, because I did it as well, and the Blue Yeti is a good mic and has a decent price point, but it's actually the one I would tell you definitely not to get, and I'll get into that. We have the Audio-Technica 2020 USB. Make sure it's the USB version, not the XLR version, because you don't want to have to invest in a mixer. Not yet, anyway. And this one is slightly more expensive at $149, but Amazon has a deal on it right now as refurbished, which I suggest getting refurbished stuff if you can. And it is at $127 and some change. Then we have the Rode NT USB, which, as you can see, the one I have from 2 years ago. And this is the highest price point at $169. And all of these mics are quite good. They are. I would suggest not to get the Blue Yeti though, because of the Snowball, which is my first recommendation in what you should get. The Blue Snowball has similar audio quality to the Blue Yeti. If you don't believe me, look up one of the million comparisons on YouTube. Chances are you're never going to need to use the things that come with the Yeti, which is the different pattern selection for cardioid, bidirectional, omnidirectional, and stereo. I have been streaming for 2.5 years, granted on and off, and I'm not really a big streamer, but I have never had to change the pickup pattern on my mic. And the Blue Snowball will be just fine for you. And if you want to spend a little bit more, I would suggest the Samsung Meteor. As you can see, it says 4.5, 4.4 stars on Amazon. It's a great mic, has awesome audio quality, and it is cheap. It's $70 compared to these. It's more than like less than half the price of the NT-USB. So as for mic recommendations, that's how it goes. Sorry, that was a little scattered. What I want to make the point of is that I want you to set your budget low. Set it at like $100. You don't need to invest in an extremely good mic right now. And if you do want to invest a little bit into it, don't automatically buy the best, biggest thing, because there are a lot of other mics out there that will range you $300-$400. There are, and they're great mics, and I know some people who use very, very expensive mics, but at the same time, you can get good audio quality for far less money. The thing with electronics is, you know, the diminishing returns is when you spend a lot more money, but you only get a little bit of improvement. Toward the middle, which is where you're at right now, you kind of get a little bit more improvement for more money than you would like all the way at the end, the really, really high-end stuff. So it's worth it to spend that extra $30 from the headset mic, but it may not be worth spending that extra $130 to upgrade to, let's say, a Rode NT-USB. I would suggest that you instead invest in a boom arm and a shock mount. And I'll tell you why right now. Because your audio, no matter what it is, it'll be good if you have, let's say, the Samsung Meteor or the Blue Yeti. I know people who use them, who love them to death, and I wouldn't be suggesting them if they weren't good mics. So, what the boom arm and what the shock mount do is they make your audio better. And you're like, Esper, what? It's a shock mount and a boom arm. That has no bearing on your audio. Yes and no. Like, it doesn't have any direct bearing on your audio, but mics like these work best when you have them close to your mouth. So, the closer I get to my mic, the better the audio quality is, and the farther and farther and farther and farther and farther I get away from my mic, the worse it becomes. Worse being in quotation marks. But having a setup like this allows you to have your mic as close as you can get it to your mouth without it getting in the way. I know a lot of people who have theirs just right in front of them, very close to their mouth, and that is for the best audio quality. And obviously, if you're gaming, you don't want your mouse real estate to be taken up by a big stand right in the middle of it. So what a lot of people do is that they have their shock mount and their boom arm, lift the mic up few inches so that they could still utilize their mouse mat and their desk space, but have their mic extremely close to them. Personally, I go for the hanging above and over my second monitor deal, but it helps you improve your audio over anything else that you could pay for, I would say, a Shockman and a boom arm, $40, the cheap ones, $50 tops, and if you buy the Snowball, you would end up with right about at your $100 budget. Okay? So you can have a really great mic and still utilize it improperly. And the best way to utilize it properly is have it as close to you as you possibly can. And that's where that extra little bit of money comes in handy when you buy the cheaper mic. So, as a disclaimer, I know I have a really, really expensive setup. And that's because I dove straight into it. And as somebody who dove straight into it, I will give you the advice not to do what I did. Sorry. Because if you're just starting out streaming, you may not be streaming further down the line. Yes, you'll have this great gear, but what are you going to really use the great gear for? Sure, you can still game. Sure, you can still do all of this stuff, but it's not necessary. And now you have spent $300-400 in gear that you may not necessarily want. So definitely know yourself before you make a purchase. Don't just buy anything because it's brand new, shiny, pretty, the specs are nice. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you appropriate your needs into your purchases, because what's right for your favorite streamer, what's right for your favorite YouTuber may not be the right choice for you. Always do your research, and I can only guide you in suggesting what you should do for your stream. If you have any questions at all, hit me up in the comments or tweet me. All of my info will be down in the description. I sound like a proper YouTuber. Hit that like button. Bye.